Okay. Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Amish Vora here. I'm a medical oncologist and I treat patients diagnosed with cancer. And before we start our conversation for today, I must thank Rapid Global Alliance for starting such wonderful activity. And I'm sure they will continue to do so. And because of this, there will be many patients or their caregivers who are fighting this disease would probably benefit out of these conversations. So with that, let me start today. Today's topic is what we have chosen is conversation with a caregiver, and the caregiver is son of patient. Just little brief about our patient today. He is Mr. Gupta. Because Vivek is there, that's why we are saying this surname. In 2013, he was diagnosed with stage 4 of colon cancer, that is the large intestine cancer. When they came to meet me, before that they had met few other doctors, and because it was stage 4 cancer, he was told that he has 6 months to live. Now, this is something which you all can understand is a very, very devastating statement, which is made to anybody, be it me, be it you all, or be it anybody else. So Mr. Gupta, when he came to me, he was definitely very depressed, and he came with his wife and his son. Son Vivek is here. When I talked to Mr. Gupta and I said that every day there are new advances in science, a religious person can call it as a miracle. We call it as advancement in science and technology. And why not take an advantage and let's see what happens. He again asked me that, Dr. Vora, please be open and frank with me. If I have 6 months to live, then I know what are my responsibilities. I told him, I do not know how long will you live, but there is always a hope. Based on that, he started his journey with me. We gave him chemotherapy. Along with chemotherapy, there is a new drug. It comes under the targeted therapy. So we started targeted therapy. After few cycles of chemotherapy, the PET scan, which was quite bad in the beginning, showed miraculously good response. Still, when it was sent to 2 surgeons, they said it is still quite widespread and we cannot operate upon this tumor. And that's when Vivek, the patient's son, who came into the picture, and he said, sir, can I try talking to some people abroad? And he reached out to a few surgeons, and finally one surgeon in Europe gave us hope. And with their notes, we went to Medanta, and Dr. Soin in Medanta operated upon Mr. Gupta. We did surgery also. We did RFA. There is a procedure which blocks certain tumor cells and cryopreserves certain tumor cells. And Mr. Gupta was cancer-free at that point of time. After that, we continued the targeted treatment for 3 good years. Now, people would say that, normally so long treatment is very expensive, cost almost to the tune of more than a CR, but the family never gave up. And family said, sir, no matter what, we will continue to fight. At the end of 3 years, patient had side effect of this drug and we had to stop the drug. Unfortunately, within 3 to 6 months of stopping this targeted treatment, the disease came back in liver. At that point of time, again, there was the saying that, okay, now the disease has come back. It is still stage 4 cancer. How long Mr. Gupta is going to live? But Vivek, myself, Vivek's mother, that is patient's wife, and patient himself never lost any hope. From that time onwards till 2022, today, we have given different types of treatment to Mr. Gupta. We have used the technology to the best of our advantage. For example, nowadays there is a lot of talk about genomic analysis. We did genomic analysis 3 times from the biopsy sample and once from the blood. We also reached out to doctor in Israel. We reached out to doctor in US to find out that will anything else be done apart from what we are doing today. And we were happy to note that whatever we have done so far, everybody agreed with her treatment. 2022, 19th of July, that is today, I can assure you that Mr. Gupta is fitter than 90% of us. He does yoga 1 hour a day. He walks so fast. He walks faster than me. And I used to be called Gandhiji of Tata Hospital because I used to walk very fast. He walks faster than me. And he runs his own business with the help of his wife. And I must tell everyone that Mr. Gupta, his wife, and Vivek, these three are the pillars of the strength. I don't know who derives strength from whom, but they, all three of them, when they come to me, I don't have to do any counseling to them. They would say, कि सर जो करना है आप करो ना, हम तैयार हैं, पर हमको लड़ना है. And as a result of that, today, after 9 years of diagnosis of stage 4 cancer, Mr. Gupta is fit, first class, fine. So this is in short story of Mr. Gupta. And now I will start my discussion with Vivek. So before I say anything, I must tell that Vivek himself is a very highly educated person, but very humble. अभी 2 चीज उसके बारे में और बोलूंगा तो वो शर्मा जाएगा. But he is IIT graduate from Chennai, and he has done IIM Ahmedabad MBA. After that, he was working for international organization for a few years, and then he decided that he wants to start his own startup. His startup is doing very well right now, and anybody can take his number for the further discussion about that. Vivek, thank you very much for joining.
Thank you. Thanks, Dr. Vora, for the warm introduction. Really appreciate it. Yes.
Not at all. You deserve every word of that, Vivek. So, Vivek, let me ask you the first question. Before coming to me, when the doctors told you and your mother and your father that you have 6 months to live, what were the thought process? And Vivek, we have half an hour in total. So
Sure.
we have a lot of grounds to cover. So as short as possible, but at the same time, I want your thought processes.
Sure. So, as you said, initially when the diagnosis was done, we were very scared, obviously, of what next, because we talked to a lot of doctors before coming to you, and so we are based out of Jaipur. In Jaipur, we talked to a lot of doctors. We talked to doctors in Delhi as well. And the response was that, you don't have much time and there is not much that can be done. So obviously we were pretty scared. And someone in our family or a distant relative also had cancer, and at a very young age. She herself is a doctor, and she told us that, I am taking treatment from Dr. Vora, and you should just give it a chance. Don't think too much into the future. From that state of shock for the first 3-4 days, the next thing that came into our mind was there must be something, right? There must be something to do about it. Kuch to hoga. And that was the key. And we got some assurance from the lady friend, and she said that, just take it one day at a time. Start the treatment. Meet Dr. Vora, go to him. And we were still very anxious before we met you, but there was some semblance of taking it as a goal. Ki chalo kuch karte hain abhi. And then see. So
Vivek, after I talked to you about chemotherapy, targeted therapy, you and your mother, apart, let's talk of preparations. Let's not, let's keep right now emotions aside for one side. How did you prepare your father and yourself and your mother for what is coming? Chemotherapy, a lot of dreadful side effects keep hovering around in the mind. Targeted therapy is something new word for you. How did you prepare?
So one was obviously a lot of questions to you. We kept pestering you with a lot of questions. I remember we always used to have and still have a list of questions ready before every discussion, on what can be the possible side effects and how do we deal with them, or whatever the side effects that he was facing. So a lot of questions that we had kept ready. Uh, a lot of questions that we did not know we had to ask, but we learned with time, and you would told us that these are some things that we should keep in mind. And additionally, a lot of research as well. So let's say chemotherapy, we went online, we talked to people who were taking it, and at that point of time, we did not know that every chemotherapy is different, every side effect is different, every person reacts in a different way. But we kept ourselves ready with a lot of research and questions, and that's it. I mean, we one thing that we did very positively was talk, listen to stories of hope. I mean, we actually went online. I just discarded. I remember every single statistic. 90%, 10% success rate, 12% success rate. We used to search for those 10%, 5% successful stories. What are those stories, right? And that is what, even if we are not in them, at least that is what also strengthen the hope.
Right.
So maybe we fall into that category. We don't have to look in the remaining 95%. So that
Correct.
is how we prepared.
Absolutely right. Are there any particular websites which you referred again and again, just for those who are listening to us?
So in case of Cologne, I mean, there is a Cologne Cancer Alliance group that is there, colognecanceralliance.com, and similar named websites that I don't exactly remember right now, but where there were people who were, let's say, long-term survivors of stage 3, stage 4 colon cancer, and I used to read their stories and see what they have gone through. So
That's great, because that helps people prepare. In terms of nutrition during chemotherapy, in terms of exercise during chemotherapy, again, any specific website which you would recommend for people to go through?
So, to be honest, no specific websites, because one thing that we have to be that I learned very early in my journey was not to trust. There is a lot of SEO related content on the website. I mean, they all say, this thing works, but only trust like actual research papers which have been published by proper authors, real scientists, real researchers. And let's say, I think NCBI is one of the sources where once I verify the name of the researcher, I actually get to know. But other than that, don't trust any generic website is what I have to say. Always confirm it with your doctor. I mean, whatever the website says.
I think you're absolutely right, and that is what I would like to tell everybody who's listening to this. Uh, Google is full of information, and I don't know if any of you know how Google works. It assimilates the information and projects in front of your computer. Everything said on Google and WhatsApp is not truth, and they just assimilate the information. So they are also not wrong. They are sharing with you whatever is published online. But the researched papers, share it with your doctor and understand that what is that, and then go forward. And why I raise this point to Vivek, because from 2013 to 2022, I think now, even though I am a doctor, I rely a lot on him when he shares the information, because he knows which information to be passed on to me. Vivek, the next question, first time I remember when we reached out to surgeons, because, even in stage 4 cancer, we realized that if we can remove the remaining tumor, we can have a longer haul.
Right.
And would you explain how did you reach out to doctors abroad?
Sure. So again, essentially, we had discussed this earlier, and I remember you also telling me about it, and then me also reading other stories that surgery, as everyone says, is one of the best possible ways to essentially cure in a way, right, or to extend the haul. And that is when I started reading about surgery for stage 4 colon cancer patients with liver mets, and what are the outcomes. And so there were some procedures, and then I tried reaching out to the authors of those research papers, who actually turned out to be surgeons who had done hundreds of such surgeries over the last 10-15 years. And that is how I just found out their emails online, send them emails with the case history, and waited for their responses. They were kind enough to respond.
So how many
And
people responded approximately?
So actually, all of them responded. I mean, I
All of them
reached.
responded. Yeah.
All of them
I
responded.
asked that question, Vivek, because many a times, we feel that, oh, बाप रे, वो डॉक्टर इतना फेमस है, इतना बिजी होगा, क्या वो अप्रोच कर पाएगा, नहीं कर पाएगा, मैं किसी को जानता नहीं हूँ, I don't know
Yes.
anybody in this world. But the point is that don't give up hope and give it a try, right?
Give
That
it a
is
try. Absolutely. वैसे भी जवाब तो नहीं आना है. Anyways, it is not going to come otherwise. I mean, right? I mean, so what's there in giving it a try?
what's there. If you ask only, then you get to know yes or no. But if you don't ask, it is
Yes.
always no.
Always no. Exactly.
Correct. Right. The next point is that we were lucky that we could have a good response to the treatment. We could have a good response to surgery, and after that, again, targeted treatment going for so long. Did during this time, uh, was there always a fear of relapse? And if it was, how did you tackle that?
So that anxiety is always there. I mean, that fear of relapse is, it's always there. It's difficult to move away from that. But it's important to, I mean, how did we tackle it? Is we remembered to enjoy the small things in life. I mean, those daily moments. I mean, once you go through such a difficult ordeal, you realize that even a good dinner is, with your family, where no one has any problem eating that dinner, is a boon. I mean, not many people have it, or you did not have it, let's say 6 months back. So we started enjoying the small things in life. That was very important. That maybe also came to us as a reminder that, don't forget about these things. We kept ourselves busy in our work, in our daily activities. We made sure we did not let go of them. Especially my father. I mean, if his mind himself was busy, we could keep ourselves busy. So that was one thing, to not break our daily routine as much as possible.
Right. Vivek, seriously, it is easy to say these words, but could you really implement in your life? It's very easy. Live each day as it comes. Live each moment as it comes. Stage पे खड़े रह के बोलने को तो बहुत अच्छा लगता है.
हाँ.
So you could really achieve that, right?
Yes, I mean, not to 100% extent. Obviously, there are days when you feel down, and when, let's say, there are tough days when my father is going through some side effects or something. But then you learn to live with those things. I mean, if you're always down, then things won't work out. Then
Correct.
What's the point of that second life that he has got?
Correct. So ups and downs there, but you could achieve at least to the moderate amount what you could achieve.
Yes, absolutely.
So that comes to the very important point, Vivek. During these first initial 3.5 years of our diagnosis, what was quality of life of your father?
Actually, it was fantastic. I mean, once the first initial 10 cycles of chemo was done, I mean, there was some side effects, and he was taking chemo for the first time. It was difficult. But once the surgery was done, and for the next 3 years during the targeted therapy treatment, the quality of life was absolutely normal. He was able to do his work, do his physical activities, his exercises, go for trips, multiple trips, in fact, and enjoy everything, whether it's eating something, doing anything, talking to people, meeting people. So quality of life was brilliant.
Quality of life was brilliant in spite of that every week once he was receiving that targeted treatment.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So on one side, people may say, many of my patients, they tell me, sir, क्या जिंदगी रह गई है, हर हफ्ते तो यहाँ आना पड़ता है. Versus somebody who looked at it that कि भाई 7 दिन में से 1 दिन खाली जाना है, 6 दिन तो मेरे अपने हैं.
That is very important to do, actually. Even now we keep on discussing that by 30 में से you have 25 days. Let's make the most out of it.
Correct, absolutely. That is the way to look at it. So, moving on further in the journey of your father, when the disease came back, when we had to stop the targeted treatment because of the side effect, what did you see that the end of the road, end of the tunnel? Did your mother experience that? Did your father experience that?
This was in 2017,
Correct.
and honestly speaking, no. At that time, again, the idea was that there will be something, we'll do something, right? And then I remember we came to you. I remember those moments very clearly in my head when we had that discussion. And again, so you told us कि ठीक है, पहले किया है, अभी भी करेंगे.
Correct.
and let's do it. Let's just focus on the treatment. Again, the thing was going back to the mantra, let's focus on the treatment, right? And we'll see after 5 cycles, 6 cycles, what's there. So
Right. So I must tell the viewers here that whenever I told these things to Vivek and his mother and Mr. Gupta, back of the mind, I was also afraid, looking at the reports. But I think we derived hope from each other, and we said that जब पहले इतना 4 साल हुआ है तो अब और भी आगे करेंगे करके, and that's 2017 and now this 2022. One of the important point, we have limited time left, Vivek. One of the important question is about genomic studies, or what we call as NGS, next generation sequencing. I remember first time when I told you that I want to do this test on your father's biopsy block, the cost was quite huge. But I remember your mother said, don't worry, we'll manage. Karke. How has, according to you, how has this genomic studies helped your father?
in a lot of ways, I mean, so we know what will not work for sure. We know what will work for sure. We know there are some treatments that may be upcoming, right? And we also got some future tools probably, for his treatment. So I think it has been extremely helpful in helping us decide what to do, what not to do at this point of time, and what may help us in the future. So I think it's a boon for all of us.
It's a boon. So, I can describe in a doctor's words, but since you are, a patient's caregiver, what have you understood by this NGS test or a genomic studies?
So, very simply put, essentially, every tumor has certain mutations, and it's specific to a specific tumor type and also the patient. Uh, these mutations keep on changing with time as we keep on giving medicines or in general. And the genomic analysis or the NGS report helps us identify these mutations so that we know what specific, because there are specific drugs in the market which target these mutations. So we know what specific drugs may work, may not work based on large scale studies. So this is what I understand out of, and the number of mutations for each tumor type, they keep on, I mean, new discoveries are being made with time every day. New drugs are being created for targeting those mutations. In fact, different tumor types, the drugs can be interchanged and, used. So this is very interesting and gives us hope.
Absolutely. So in Mr. Gupta's case, every time, as Vivek said, the most important thing told us that what will not work. So that was, I think, one of the important lesson which we learned. Also, we learned is that the drug, the targeted therapy which worked for 3 years may work again in future if required, because the particular mutation against which we can decipher that ye targeted therapy kaam karegi, that targeted therapy will continue to work. In fact, Vivek and I, both of us are almost certain about it. So it helps many a times. It helps in identifying certain drugs which are not used in certain subtypes. Like for example, अगर genomic studies मुझे ये बताता है कि breast cancer का दवाई colon cancer में देना चाहिए, and that particular mutation which is there in breast cancer also and colon cancer also, then we can use that drug. And nowadays, you would be surprised, all of you, that there is something called as a basket drug which are coming. बास्केट ड्रग मतलब पहले हम लोग क्या करते थे, यहाँ पे हेड एंड नेक में कैंसर है तो उसका ये दवाई लगेगा, लंग में है तो इसका ये दवाई लगेगा, कोलोन में है तो इसका ये दवाई लगेगा. बट इफ देयर इज अ म्यूटेशन व्हिच इज कॉमन हियर, हियर एंड हियर, a common drug can work either of the three places irrespective of the site of origin of cancer. This is the absolutely new era of medicine in cancer, and I am sure 10 years from now genomic studies is going to be the way for us to treat cancer. Vivek, going forward, it's 2022, 9 years, and still we know that father keeps getting, cancer back. He has undergone liver surgery 3 times.
Yes.
Right? How did you, keep moral up for surgery for 3 times? That also liver surgery, it's a big surgery. There is always a fear कि साला OT में कुछ हो जाएगा, anesthesia में कुछ हो जाएगा. How did you prepare yourself for these so many major surgeries?
So one is again doing a lot of research ki kisse karwani hai, right? And you also look at the doctor. I mean, how many times have they done it? It's very important to, at least that's my opinion, to get it done from a specialist. And that's what also we had also discussed, where you had also advised us to, get it from a specialist surgeon. In his case, a liver surgeon who does this kind of a surgery in and out. Also, talking to the doctor how confident the surgeon is, in terms of doing the surgery. If someone is saying nahi karni hai, to nahi karwani hai unse. If someone is saying I will do it, so that gives you a confidence ki karwani hai. So that was one, and also we have done it in the past. So touch wood, I mean, we were okay. We were prepared for it. We knew the processes. We knew what would happen, how it would go. So we were ready for it mentally.
So last two questions, Vivek. One is physical activity or exercise. There are studies after studies that say कि exercise करते रहोगे तो कैंसर में आपको बहुत हेल्प मिलेगा. It will reduce the side effects of chemotherapy. It will reduce the chances of recurrence. It will increase the blood flow and the recovery from surgery. According to you, how important it was or it is for your father's good health?
It has been extremely important, Dr. Vora. I mean, without exercising, though, I don't know how well the treatment would have worked. Treatment is obviously the primary thing, but to support it, as you said, a lot of research says exercise helps in cancer remission and it not coming back, and also in keeping the day-to-day life. I mean, cancer drugs are strong; they will eat up on your physical prowess. But it's important to keep on exercising. Even it can be anything, right? It can be just a daily walk. It can be some sport that you play, anything that will make sure you're active. I think it has been extremely important, especially in keeping his morale high and in maintaining his physical status.
Absolutely right. And the last question to you, Vivek. I want you to give 3 to 4 practical tips of people who's undergoing. And I ask you this because I really, really am very impressed, and that I really love the way you research. Emotional aspect to एक side है ही है, but keeping that aside, the way you did research, the way you asked me questions, the way you followed my instructions, and once we have decided to go walk that path, I would like to ask you, what are the few tips which you would like to give to any other person suffering from similar illness, which you have not spoken to me in last 25 to 26 minutes?
So I think one thing is try to keep yourself. First point that I say is cut out all negativity as much as possible. I mean, even if you have limited time, it doesn't help. So in India, especially, we have everyone, your friends and family and relatives, everyone tries to sympathize with you. Like, cut that out is what I would say. You only want people who just make you face the reality and are there to support you instead of sympathizing and a lot of crying. We did that. We always do that whenever something happens. That's very, very important, so that you can divert. Otherwise, you keep on thinking about the same problem. That's very important, number one. Number two, like, follow your doctor. Whatever your doctor says, I mean, don't. The doctor knows everything, right? I mean, the doctor don't. I've seen a lot of people take a lot of herbal treatments and then stopping the chemo treatments, and that is, I mean, it helps, but that there is no research to back it. So you can do it as a supplementary treatment along with your primary treatment, but don't stop that treatment. Number three, diet and exercise is extremely important. We have discussed that, but I'm iterating it because a lot of my other known people, we all know, have got some form of cancer, and I see that they're unable to eat. I mean, find innovative ways to eat. Maybe make milkshakes, maybe make smoothies, make it liquid, get it inside. But diet is extremely important. These are the three, I think, the most important things. Four, as a family, if you have support, it helps. Just be each other, stick with each other. Don't lose hope, is I would say. Try to focus on the positive, ignore the negative numbers. Hopefully the magic will come.
That's great, Vivek. And just to reiterate, I have shared with you, but I share this with everyone, that my mother-in-law had one of the rarest cancer, and she lived the longest in the history of medicine so far. I kept giving chemotherapy because that is something what I do for last 19 years. But my father-in-law, as Vivek said, he used to keep telling me, ना मुझे गोमूत्र करना है, ना मुझे कोई योगा आश्रम जाना है, ना मुझे कोई आयुर्वेदिक दवाई करनी है. आपके हाथ में डॉक्टर साहब जो है आप वो करिए, बाकी फिर ऊपर वाले का है, but do the best. And my wife would always be with my mother-in-law, and she would always tell, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, कितना भी कीमो करो. आप कीमो 21 दिन करते हो तो एक दिन आपका है, लेकिन 20 दिन तो मेरे हैं. And I think Vivek also shared exactly the same. And both the cases, I believe that there was something beyond the effect of treatment, either chemotherapy or targeted therapy. I do chemotherapy, targeted therapy daily, but why do we get these exceptional responses? I feel somewhere the positivity and so many of exercise, keeping the good mood, and living as a family helps. Thank you so much, Vivek. And this was, I always enjoy talking to you. In fact, there's many a times I learn so much from you. And special thanks to you and your mother. And I would again thank the Rapid Global Alliance Group for giving me and Vivek this opportunity. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Ramesh. Thank you.